How's it going, everyone? So certainly there has been quite a lot of dialogue and discussion around State of Play. I had said in yesterday's video that I thought it was a fine show. At the same time, I can understand why people had their issues with the show. I can also understand why people love the show. It's really dependent on what your expectations are going into the show. And if you are familiar with the lay of the land on PlayStation, how that show transpired yesterday should not surprise you whatsoever. And I think that is the major issue with people going into these shows. And here I am being the voice of reason, the guy on this channel that is down on a lot of these State of Plays and whatnot because of the lackluster first-party output. But now we know, we have it confirmed, first-party PlayStation is cooked. It is cooked. Stop going into these State of Plays expecting, oh, Legend of Dragoon remake by Bluepoint or whatever Bluepoint's next game is going to get revealed. Stop going into it thinking that Ben Studio is magically going to pump out a trailer for Days Gone 2. All of these studios, Naughty Dog, Ben Studio, Bluepoint Games, so on and so forth. You're talking about Haven Studios. They're working on trash live service games. Bro, their live service adventure is going to cook these State of Plays from a first-party output standpoint. That is the reality, and if you're not going to accept that at this point, which is why I over and over again said they should not do a PlayStation showcase. A showcase sets expectations so high that there's gonna be banger first-party reveals that you just cannot have that, you guys. It does not exist. PlayStation is fried from that department, and maybe they're in that area of course correcting now from a first-party standpoint, and I get why people get mad about that. I heard this analogy before, and I think it rings true so much. State of Play, if it was just called, like, Games Showcase, it would always be received pretty decently. However, it's State of Play. Think about it like PlayStation invites you to their home for a party. And I'm totally stealing this analogy. I saw somebody else say it before, but I thought it rings perfect. PlayStation invites you to their house for a party, and you see all of PlayStation's friends there. You see Square Enix. Oh, there's Suda51. Oh, there's IO Interactive. The James Bond game looks great. And then PlayStation all of a sudden, which this party is centered around, it's their, showcase, it's their birthday party, whatever you want to call it, they're just upstairs and they're sleeping. Or they're doing nothing, they just don't even show up. That's what these State of Plays have become because PlayStation isn't showcasing their own stuff. There's always gonna be that third-party emphasis. There's always gonna be third-party stuff showcased. But at the center of it all, State of Play, the perception for a lot of people is it should have this PlayStation focus. Now, I would argue you did get a banger announcement at the end. Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls looks awesome. It looks tremendous. It's a PlayStation published game. Their studio XDev is working on it with Arc System Works, and it looks fantastic. However, I get that a lot of people aren't super into the technically nuanced fighting games, and if you're not into those games, that announcement at the end is going to be a little bit of a downer. People want that big budget single player Yote-esque experience, which by the way, they announced that that's getting a State of Play next month, so you're getting that big gameplay demo next month, which I thought was the perfect way to do it anyway. I personally would have liked to see some Saros gameplay, but I guess you keep some stuff in the back pocket for later on. And I see a lot of comments in my video that I did yesterday that are very divisive. A lot of people are saying it's really good. People hating on State of Play these days literally expect the second coming of Christ in every presentation. Bro, you got Tokon, 007, Neo 3, Pragmata, Romeo, Digimon, Sea of Remnants. The issue with that, I agree with you, but the main issue a lot of people have is the lack of first party. If you go into the expectation that first party is cooked, then this is going to be a great show. And I thought it was a pretty decent show, all things considered, with Tokon. 007, I think, looks awesome. I saw people bugging out about the James Bond redesign. It's a younger Bond. I don't have that affinity towards, James Bond. I thought he looked great, and I love the art style to the game. Pragmata looked cool. Romeo is a dead man sleeper banger there. That game looks fantastic. Digimon looks great. Neo 3 is pretty cool. There's a lot of cool stuff there. I would argue that there's also stuff that you know, I understand why people are upset about, but it comes down to what your expectations are. And you got a lot of Japanese titles. Like, I see it in my comment section all the time. Bro, you cover the weeb stuff too much. Is this just a weeb JRPG channel? So on and so forth. And ultimately, there are those people that aren't into the anime-esque, the Japanese titles. Although those are some of the best games that you are going to find. So I would implore you guys at this state of the game, no pun intended, stop expecting phenomenal first-party output. Yeah, it would have been cool to see something like a Media Molecule announcement. It would have been cool to see the God of War Kratos-Vania game, but let's be honest, if that God of War 2.5D spin-off was announced, I think based on the reaction I saw to that game potentially getting announced, and I do believe that's in development based on what I'm hearing, I think if that got announced, people would be even more upset because it would create the perception that we're not getting any major first-party games, but we're getting a God of War spin-off 2.5D game, which that 2.5D God of War game, I am all for, because we need PlayStation to put out smaller scale games because their first party is fried. Those games, if Ben Studio hopefully gets another opportunity to put out another game, that's not gonna be for 5 to 7 years, you guys. Naughty Dog got cooked doing Last of Us Factions. We're not gonna get a game for them in 7 years. Guerrilla, if like Horizon Online, is anybody really interested in Horizon Online? Yeah, it's gonna piggyback off the Horizon IP. Right now is not the time to go, oh my god, here's a live service game. Fair Game would have gotten cooked. Marathon would have gotten cooked. Horizon Online, I think, would have gotten cooked. Nobody wants to hear about live service first-party PlayStation stuff, and nobody is a generalization, but you get the idea. Nobody's trying to hear about that. Right now, you should focus on the third parties. The only thing that I would prioritize at this point is like, bro, you got all of your first-party cooked. Why not do some remasters that at least would build some goodwill with your hardcore PlayStation audience? Infamous Collection with Infamous 1 and 2, Ratchet & Clank Future, maybe announce a port of Uncharted the Nathan Drake trilogy on PC. I think there are little things you could do that would get people at least be like, hey, that's pretty cool, and would act as a nice accessory to everything else being announced. Now, you still won't have that centerpiece on these State of Plays and Showcase, although I think Tokon for a lot of people was that, but in a lot of instances you're not, because first party is so fried in terms of getting major reveals. When you don't have a Bluepoint revealing a game, when you don't have a Ben Studio, when you don't have a Naughty Dog unveiling games and releasing games at a somewhat regular cadence, because 5 years of their dev cycle got absolutely shot out of a barrel and it's going to be worthless because of the live service push. This is the reality you have to accept, and if you go into it with the expectation that first party is fried, you're not getting Days Gone 2, you're not getting any of these games, you're not getting a new Uncharted anytime soon, then it's fine. Like, these shows are fine. Third party has to be what carries PlayStation, and Tokon and Marvel Tokon Fighting Spirit was a nice surprise that I'm excited for, even as somebody that's not a big fighting game guy. Objectively, that game looks tremendous, and you had Neo 3 as well, which that's gonna be a big release. There's definitely stuff to sink your teeth into, but I get the complaints about first party, but let's be honest, even if a Ratchet Future collection was announced, like, for me personally, that would have elevated the state of play a lot. Other people would have been like, oh my god, this is all PlayStation has, the PS3 remasters, you know, and I could totally understand that, but if you go into it at this point with your expectations in check, which is the primary reason why I said they should definitely not do a showcase, because they can't do a showcase, you guys. They don't have the firepower to do a showcase, or it'll end up like the 2023 showcase, or even worse than that, because what are they gonna do? Are they gonna do a Wolverine gameplay demo and be like, alright, the game's out in 14 months. People are gonna be like, bro, this is 14 months away. Save Wolverine for next year, and that'll be the better time to show it off. But I digress. You know, I didn't think the state of play was that bad. Did I think it was this blowaway show? No, it's third-party focused, but these have to be. PlayStation is cooked from a first-party standpoint, but we've said this over and over again. I will also say the PlayStation Plus announcements were trash. I don't care if they announced a couple of games. We need more offerings. PS Plus Premium is the biggest scam of a subscription service in gaming. You cannot change my mind on that. PS Plus Premium in particular. We were promised these catalog updates of classic games, and it's been a pile of trash. 2 games a month, and we're supposed to get excited about that? Get the F out of here. 1 game, games getting pulled left and right, but I've said this over and over again about PS Plus. What a pile of trash subscription service that is. And I digress. That'll do it for me. I did not think this show was that bad. Actually thought it was pretty decent, but let me know your thoughts. Maybe that's because my expectations these days out of PlayStation are in the toilet, but they should be in the toilet. If you're familiar with the lay of the land of PlayStation right now, your expectations should be in the gutter. So that'll do it for me. Your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and sound off down below, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.